Hello. Here are some Wednesday words for this trying time when we can't all get together in church because of the COVID-19 crisis. It's a time of distress, anxiety, and uncertainty that seems unending. I'm Doug Roller, one of the Emmanuelites who can claim great-grandparents who were among the hotheads who walked out of Trinity in 1893. Who were part of our Big Bang creation story, and who came all of 2 blocks to build our new church. So at age 80, I'm feeling thoroughly old, but still kicking. There's a chapter of Emmanuel's architectural history that happened quite some time ago that involved a serious crisis in the early Depression era of the 1930s. In the fall of 1929, the vestry signed a contract for building our parish house, where we are now. The next day, the stock market crashed. This coincidence created a very long and hard time for the church to struggle through during the Great Depression. It was for them a time of distress and anxiety and must have seemed endless. The plans were drawn by Sam Collins, son of renowned T.J. Collins. I worked for 15 years in the office of the third generation of the firm over on North Jefferson Street. Were change orders written to cut the construction cost of the new addition? Well, there was one conspicuous change. There was the elimination of 2 symmetrical doors, one on either side of the proscenium arch of the stage, which had steps down from the stage to the main floor. But the stage was still as detailed, complete with front and back curtains, and even a scrim. Now, a scrim is a gauzy, stretched curtain which shows a scene behind it only when the light behind the scrim is brighter than in front of it. In my childhood, the stage was used for Christmas pageant tableaus. The posed scenes of kids who were costumed on the floor below, then they crept up the back stairs behind the open trapdoor while being shushed by their directors. Harrison May will probably remember this scene in the mid-1940s when he and I were both in the Christmas pageants. Doting parents would look on and thought we were wonderful. And in the next generation, we have fond memories of our own 3 kids on this same stage. Back to looking for changes to cut the construction cost of the parish house. Many other changes could have been made, but they were not. The 8 handsome chandeliers were kept. The hand-hewn trusses could have been simplified, but weren't. The small triangular skylights, 4 on each side of the roof, were kept. Expensive, but losing them would have been an awful loss, both inside and out. The slate roof could have been changed to metal, but it's still there. The Mercer tiles that grace the exterior front entrance walls could have been eliminated, but what a loss of the fanciful medieval details, complete with dragons. So these distinctive features were kept, which make the room one of the best in town for festive occasions. Of course, the size of the parish hall has always been a problem. It's not really big enough in relation to the capacity of the sanctuary. It will surprise most of us today to hear that the room was not intended to be all that flexible and multi-purpose. There were rows of wooden and iron benches which were screwed to the floor. There was a center aisle, but no side aisles. The wooden seats of the benches were simply notched around radiators when they were encountered on either side. If you'd like to see one of these benches elsewhere, drop in at the Bistro restaurant down at the wharf, open the front door, go inside and look down to your left. There's one of these benches cut down in size to have a look at. The lack of the parish hall multi-floor space meant that any function which didn't require immovable seating had to happen downstairs in the dining room, which leads to a long-held story that for the first ever parish house dinner in the early Depression era, every family brought baked beans. And that story reminds me of the dining room being nicknamed Depression Hall by Hugh White, a beloved former rector. The dining room had terrible acoustics from day one. The worst was made when the steam pipes began banging. In the 1973 ground floor remodeling, the acoustical treatment of the ceiling was cut because of spiraling inflation. All these problems have recently been well solved, so the dining room is much improved now. Returning to the building of the parish house, most of its substantial design elements were kept, left intact, including fireplaces in the rector's study and the guild room below, and even rustic hand-carved heavy oak furniture in the guild room, which looked and felt downright medieval. But the parish struggled through the Great Depression with a heavy financial burden, and the effects lingered long after the Depression and through World War II. So that's the story of how our beautiful parish house came to be. My personal hope is that we can somehow carry out careful plans which have been made to provide a second exit from the parish hall, a code-worthy exit, also including a chairlift to make the stage accessible, open stairs up on either side to storage lofts, and even air conditioning someday. This grand plan, with all the pages of its details involved, is certainly one of the most expensive projects to be found on our parish wish list. And may we all live to see a wonderful post-pandemic day when we can be together again. In the meantime, we will all social distance, wear our masks, wash our hands, and pray for grace. We must remember that there have been hard times before, and Emmanuel does mean God with us. Thanks.